You never really understand silence until the person you live with uses it as a knife. For months, Claire had grown used to it. That long, deliberate quiet that followed anything she said in her own house. She wasn't always a stay-at-home wife. She had a career once, marketing executive, well-paid, respected, until Thomas convinced her to step back when their second child was born. "It makes no sense for both of us to stress," he had said then, smiling like it was love. "I make enough, just handle the home." She did. She handled everything. Kids, school runs, bills, groceries, repairs, family birthdays, laundry, meals, sick nights, school forms, all of it. She sacrificed her title, her salary, her name, her sleep, and thought she was doing for the good of the family. But something had changed. Now Thomas looked at her like she was dead weight. The scene that shattered her happened on a Sunday afternoon. Their friends, 4 couples, had come over for brunch. Laughter, soft music, wine glasses, chatter. And then one of the women, joking, had said, "Claire, you're lucky. I wish I could just stay home and relax all day like you." Before Claire could even laugh it off politely, Thomas, her own husband, cut in. "Relax? That's all she does," he said loudly, smirking. "Trust me, she couldn't survive in a real job again even if she tried." The room went quiet. Then came the nervous chuckles. Not from Claire. Her face burned, like someone peeled her dignity in public. She swallowed hard. "You think I do nothing?" Thomas shrugged, enjoying the attention. "Let's be real," he said, leaning back. "I'm the one who keeps this family afloat. I pay for everything. She just exists." Exist. That word hit like a punch. No one defended her. Not one. She excused herself, walked to the pantry, and stood there frozen, breathing like someone held her lungs in a fist. That night, there was no apology, not even acknowledgement. Instead, he doubled down. "You got offended because I told the truth?" he snapped when she confronted him quietly after everyone left. "You want respect? Earn it. Bring money to this house again, or stop acting like you matter." Those words did not fade. They settled like permanent acid in her bones. From that day forward, Thomas got bolder. Emboldened cruelty is a disease. Once it tastes approval, it spreads. He began to make little comments at breakfast. "Don't overspend today. You don't generate income, remember?" Or at dinner with the kids listening. "You can't even understand taxes anymore. You're out of touch with the real world." Or mocking when she hesitated before speaking in front of guests. "Sure, don't worry. She hasn't used her brain in years." And every single time, people laughed. Not because it was funny, but because humiliation is always more comfortable than confrontation. Claire didn't break loud. She broke quietly. She started waking before everyone, just a cry where no one saw. She stopped speaking at the table. She started to feel like a guest in her own blood and bones. Until the day the envelope arrived. A thick, heavy, cream-colored envelope delivered by courier, addressed to her, not to Thomas, not to Mr. and Mrs., to her name alone. Her hand shook opening it. Inside was a letter from an attorney, her late father's longtime lawyer. She hadn't known there was a revised will. She hadn't known anything had changed. But the letter changed everything. She read the first line twice before she could breathe. "Your father named you sole heir and executor of his full estate, assets, and corporate holdings." She felt the ground shift under her, because while her husband spent a year convincing her she was nothing, her father had left her everything. She sat down slowly, the room spinning. She read every line: trusts, cash accounts, real estate board authority, voting rights, ownership of the family company. All to her alone. Not shared, not split, not conditional. Hers, entirely. And then she reached the last paragraph. Handwritten by her father before he died. "A woman who builds a home builds a kingdom. The world may not see her labor, but I do. What you gave up was not weakness. It was strength. This is not a gift. It is correction." She pressed the paper to her face and sobbed, not from greed, not from shock, but from being seen for the first time in years. She knew one thing with absolute clarity. Thomas would not take this lightly. He believed she had nothing. He believed she needed him. He believed she was beneath him. He had no idea what was coming, because the next step, the reading of the will, would not be private. It would be formal, documented, witnessed, irreversible. And when Thomas walked into that lawyer's office, ready to control the narrative as always, he would learn a truth that would break his arrogance in a single sitting. This was the moment humiliation would shift direction, and Claire would not flinch this time. Mr. Lawson re-entered the study with a stiffness in his walk, the kind that only appears when a man can feel a collapse he doesn't yet understand. His brothers and cousins follow behind, whispering under their breath, all of them fully expecting the will to reward the real earners, the men who built things, not the woman who just stayed home. Miriam sat back down slowly, her hands clasped in her lap, eyes lowered, not in fear, but in calm anticipation. The attorney cleared his throat. We will now proceed to the dispositive section of the will, the distribution of estate. Every seat in the room leaned forward. The attorney looked down at the document, ran a finger along the margin, then read, I, Andrew Lawson, do hereby leave full ownership of my entirety of net worth, inclusive of all company shares, real property, investments, accounts, vehicles, intellectual rights, and life insurance proceeds to my wife, Miriam Lawson. The room did not exhale. It froze, as if air was suddenly charged with electricity. One of the cousins laughed, not because it was funny, but because his brain refused the input. Wait, all? No subdivision? No allocations? No trust for the daughters first? Nothing to brothers? The lawyer didn't blink. Correct. 100%. Sole heir. Mr. Lawson's throat clicked. His voice came out strained, thin, cracked. That must be a draft. Andrew always said I'd run the business. The lawyer raised a hand. Not rude, just final. The will is signed, notarized, witnessed, and legally binding. And there is a clause attached that I am obligated to read aloud now. He turned one more page. The room leaned again. Silence weighted the spine of the moment. The lawyer read, To those who may question my decision, understand this. A man who builds a fortune has not done it alone. My wife created the life that let me work without fear. She raised our daughters, ran our home, protected my peace, and absorbed every hit so that I could stand. Money is not earned twice. The home is the other half of the labor. Reward should meet contribution, not noise. You could hear the humiliation detonate in the room. Not because Miriam gloated, she didn't. Not because Mr. Lawson was poor, he wasn't. But because the single sentence annihilated the myth he had weaponized for years. That housework doesn't count. That unpaid labor isn't real work. That the wife who stayed home didn't earn anything. The will had recorded the truth in ink he could not erase. Miriam remained still. She wasn't smiling. She didn't need to. Her dignity was not a victory. It was evidence. Her husband swayed slightly, then slumped back into his chair like a man who'd been quietly stripped naked in a room full of witnesses. One of the uncles coughed to break the tension. Another brother murmured, trying to salvage some male pride. Maybe Andrew only did that to protect the girls, so she could manage it for them until... The lawyer interrupted again, reading the last line clause. This inheritance is not custodial. It is not transitional. It is not in trust. It belongs to her because she earned it. A heavy, immovable full stop. No one spoke. No one even shifted in their seat. Mr. Lawson's lips trembled. A man who had mocked her contribution now stood economically under her roof. His voice finally returned, but it came out small. Miriam, we can discuss this privately later. For the first time since entering the room, Miriam finally raised her eyes, slow, steady, unflinching. No, there will be no private discussion, public disrespect, public correction. Her tone was gentle, but it cut like polished steel. She stood, flattened her palms on the table, and delivered the single sentence that finished the reversal. You laughed at me in front of people for doing nothing. Now you will live on what I built invisible. Not a shout, not vengeance, just truth, spoken at full volume. From that day, the family narrative rewrote itself. The stay-at-home wife became the legal head of the estate. The man who dismissed her labor lived off the fruit of that labor. Every relative who once nodded along with his insults now adjusted their voice when speaking to her. Hierarchy inverted without a drop of rage. Just a line in a legal document backed by a dead man's clarity. 3 months later, when his estate accountant revealed something buried in the financials, something Andrew had hidden from everyone but protected through the will, the whole family would learn that Andrew didn't just reward Miriam. He foresaw a war and rigged the battlefield in advance. Hook. First 15 seconds, straight tension. You think an inheritance fight ends the day the will is read. But 3 months after Miriam became the sole heir, an accountant opened a file that Andrew had locked with second password. And what he found inside proved Andrew had never trusted his own family, not even his wife. He had been preparing for a betrayal before he died. It began with a routine audit. The estate accountant, Mr. Odiu, had been reconciling the late CEO's assets for tax filings when he noticed one ledger entry that didn't line up. A number 2 round, 2 perfectly hidden in an offshore category, labeled with an unfamiliar code. Miriam didn't even know such an account existed when Mr. Odiu called her in to review it. She sat across from him exactly the way she sat on the day of the reading, polite, reserved, unaware she was seconds from another detonation. Madam, the accountant said slowly, before I open this file, I need to prepare you. Your husband didn't hide this from the family. He hid this from everyone. Miriam's fingers tightened. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears. The accountant entered the second password, and the spreadsheet loaded. Row after row of transfers appeared, numbered, coded, recurring. Every entry routed into a secure international trust with a staggering ending balance. Miriam leaned forward, slowly, as if bracing against a wind no one else could feel. "What is this?" she whispered. The accountant slid the screen toward her. "A contingency fund, $2.7 million in your name." She blinked. "In my name? Then why are you saying he hid it from me?" Mr. Odiu took off his glasses. That gesture alone told her the sentence coming next would not be gentle, because it cannot be accessed unless a specific condition is triggered. Miriam's stomach sank. What condition? The accountant clicked the final document. A legal directive appeared, to be executed only in the event that my wife is challenged, harassed, sued, pressured, or stripped of authority after my death by any member of my family. The words hit like a courtroom verdict. Andrew had known. He had seen it coming. He had drafted protection before anyone even planned their attack. But the condition clause didn't stop there. There was a second line, sharper than the first. Upon activation, the trust shall be liquidated not for my wife's living comfort, but exclusively for legal retaliation and removal of challengers. Silence folded over the table. This was not just a safety net. It was a weapon, a preloaded, posthumous counterstrike. Miriam felt her throat tighten, not in fear, but in something darker. Confirmation. Andrew had known his family would come for her. He had watched the jokes, the condescension, the dismissals, and he put a legal bomb under their feet before he died, and the detonation trigger already pulled without her realizing it. Because that very week, Mr. Lawson's brothers had filed a legal petition to contest the will, meaning the condition was now legally activated. The trust, all $2.7 million of it, was now live and armed, not to defend Miriam, but to destroy her challengers. Mr. Odiu looked up from the screen. "Madam, Andrew didn't just leave you the estate. He left you the means to bury anyone who tries to take it." Miriam exhaled slowly, like a woman who had just been handed a ghost sword. 2 weeks later, everyone was in probate court. Andrew's brothers on one side with their lawyer, Miriam on the other with calm silence. They came confident. They came grinning. They came to rip the estate from a housewife. Their lawyer rose first. "Your Honor, we intend to prove that the deceased could not have intended to grant full inheritance to a non-earning spouse with no business or financial involvement." The brothers nodded. The judge turned to Miriam's table. Her attorney didn't even stand yet. He simply opened a folder, slid a USB into the court screen, and said, "Before we respond to their claim, Your Honor, we need to enter a posthumous directive authored by the deceased himself, prepared in anticipation of this family attempting exactly what they're attempting right now." The brother's lawyer froze. The document appeared on the court monitors. Andrew's voice, notarized, recorded, filled the room. Asterisk. In my family attempt to challenge my wife's authority, contest her inheritance, or strip her of dignity, then I instruct the full activation of a separate trust, not for her comfort, but an asterisk legally dismantle anyone who tries. Signed, Andrew Lawson. The courtroom went dead silent. The judge leaned back, stunned. The brothers went stiff. Their lawyer swallowed and sat down slowly. The tone of the entire trial died on the spot. But Miriam's attorney wasn't finished. Your Honor, since they have triggered that clause by filing this petition, we now request sanctions and immediate dismissal with prejudice. Additionally, we will be filing counter litigation as empowered by the trust directive, meaning not only had the brothers lost, they had activated millions of dollars dedicated to destroying their legal footing. The judge turned to the brothers' bench. Challenge withdrawn or not, you have already triggered the directive. Case dismissed with prejudice. Their faces melted, shame, panic, disbelief. They didn't just lose the inheritance. They woke a financial war chest specifically designed to break them. In the hallway, one brother whispered, "He set us up from the grave?" No, he protected the only person who never disrespected him. In the car ride home, Miriam didn't cry. She didn't gloat. She sat in silence, a silence that sounded like justice. Her attorney looked at her gently. "Ma'am, I have worked the States for 18 years. I have never seen a husband plan this far ahead to protect a wife people underestimated." Miriam didn't speak immediately. Then she said the only sentence needed. He knew who loved him and who loved his money. That night, Miriam opened Andrew's study for the first time since the funeral, and inside his desk, she found an envelope with her name on the front. Not typed, handwritten, fresh ink, dated 1 week before he died. She stared at it, breath slow, pulse heavy. She hadn't opened it yet, but whatever was inside was not meant for when he was alive.